I should have just called her an Uber. That's what I keep thinking about now, weeks later, when I'm lying in bed staring at the ceiling at 2 in the morning. I should have just put her in a car, sent her home, and gone back to my apartment to heat up leftover pasta and watch something mindless on Netflix. But I didn't do that. And now everything is different. It started at the company holiday party. I work at a marketing firm in downtown Seattle. Nothing fancy. Just one of those mid-sized places where everyone knows everyone's business, and the coffee in the break room tastes like burnt rubber. The party was at this venue near Pike Place Market, one of those exposed brick places with string lights everywhere, and an open bar that was definitely going to get someone in trouble. That someone turned out to be my boss, Rachel. Rachel Chen was 34, which made her about 7 years older than me. She'd been with the company for 6 years and made senior director 2 years ago. She was the kind of person who always looked put together, even on Fridays when everyone else showed up in jeans. Dark hair always perfectly straight, crisp white shirts, these subtle gold earrings she wore every single day. She was brilliant at her job, kind of intimidating, and I'd been quietly, stupidly attracted to her since my first week at the company 8 months ago. Not that I'd ever done anything about it. She was my boss. I was a junior account coordinator who still got nervous presenting in meetings. It wasn't even a possibility in my mind, just this low-level awareness that made me slightly more conscious of what I wore on days I knew we'd have one-on-ones. The party had been going for maybe 2 hours when I noticed Rachel at the bar, alone. She'd already had a few glasses of wine during dinner. I could tell because her cheeks were flushed, and she kept tucking her hair behind her ear more than usual. It was this small thing she did when she was thinking, or uncomfortable. I was standing with a group from the design team, half listening to Marcus talk about his fantasy football league, when I saw Rachel order another drink. Whiskey this time. She knocked it back faster than seemed wise. "Hey, I'll be right back," I said to no one in particular. I walked over to the bar and stood next to her, pretending to look at the drink menu even though I'd already had 2 beers and was planning to stop there. "Having fun?" I asked. Rachel turned to look at me, and her eyes took a second to focus. "Oh, hey, Jordan." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Yeah, so much fun. Best night of my life." The sarcasm was thick enough to cut. Rachel was usually diplomatic, even when she was annoyed. This was different. "You okay?" I asked. She laughed, but it came out bitter. "Define okay." She gestured to the bartender for another drink. I should have minded my own business. She was an adult. She could take care of herself. But something about the way she was standing there, her shoulders just slightly slumped in a way I'd never seen before, made me stay. "Maybe switch to water for a bit," I suggested carefully. She looked at me, really looked at me, and for a second, I thought she was going to tell me to get lost. Instead, she said, "You're probably right." But she still took the whiskey when the bartender put it down. The rest of the party blurred together. I kept one eye on Rachel while pretending to be engaged in conversations about year-end reports and someone's upcoming wedding. She moved from the bar to a table in the corner, then back to the bar, then to the bathroom where she stayed for almost 15 minutes. When she came out, her lipstick was gone, and she looked pale. By 10:30, people were starting to leave. I watched Rachel try to put on her coat and miss the armhole twice. That's when I made the decision. "Hey, Rachel," I said, walking up to her. "Let me give you a ride home." She blinked at me slowly. "I can get an Uber." "I know you can. But I'm offering. My car's just 2 blocks away." She started to protest, then swayed slightly. I put a hand on her elbow to steady her, and she didn't pull away. "Okay," she said quietly. "Thank you. Oh, Jordan." Getting her to my car was an adventure. She kept stopping to look at things, completely random things like a stop sign or a closed storefront. "That used to be a bookstore," she told me, pointing at an empty space with soap-covered windows. I bought my first copy of The Unbearable Lightness of Being there. She said it like it mattered, like it was important I knew this. That's cool, I said, because what else do you say? When we finally got to my car, a beat-up Honda Civic that I'd driven since college, she laughed. This is very you, she said. What does that mean? Practical, reliable, unassuming. She said it like those were good things, and I felt my face get warm. I helped her into the passenger seat and went around to the driver's side. That's when I realized I had a problem. Hey, Rachel, what's your address? She looked at me with unfocused eyes. She pulled out her phone, squinted at it, then made a frustrated sound. Dead. My phone's dead. Great. Perfect. Okay, do you remember your address? Like, can you tell me? She closed her eyes like she was concentrating really hard. It's on Capitol Hill, I think. Or maybe Queen Anne. There's a blue door. She opened one eye. That doesn't help, does it? Not really, no. I sat there in the driver's seat, keys in hand, trying to figure out what to do. I could take her back to the venue, but the party was basically over and everyone had left. I could try to find someone else's number, call around, but it was almost 11 on a Friday night, and I didn't even know who to call. Rachel had let her head fall back against the headrest, and her eyes were closed. She looked exhausted. Jordan? She said softly. Yeah? I'm sorry I'm being difficult. My chest did something weird. You're not being difficult. You're just drunk. She laughed, a real laugh this time. Very drunk. Extremely drunk. The most drunk I've been in probably 5 years. What happened? I asked before I could stop myself. You seemed off tonight. She was quiet for a long time. I thought maybe she'd fallen asleep. But then she said, My mom called this afternoon. She wanted to tell me my ex-fiancé is getting married, to the woman he left me for. Thought I should hear it from family instead of seeing it on Facebook. Oh, I didn't know Rachel had been engaged. She never talked about her personal life at work, never mentioned dating anyone or going through a breakup. She was just Rachel, the senior director who ran efficient meetings and gave constructive feedback on my presentations. That's really rough, I said. I'm sorry. It was 3 years ago, she said, eyes still closed. I should be over it. Feelings don't work on a schedule. She turned her head to look at me then, and something in her expression made my heart beat faster. You're very kind, Jordan. Has anyone ever told you that? Not really, I said honestly. She smiled. Well, you are. I made a decision. Probably a stupid one, but I made it anyway. My apartment's only about 10 minutes from here. You can crash on my couch, and in the morning when your phone's charged, you can get home. Is that okay? Rachel opened her eyes fully and studied my face like she was trying to determine if I had ulterior motives. I kept my expression as neutral and trustworthy as possible. Just the couch? She asked. Just the couch, I promise. She nodded slowly. Okay, thank you. The drive to my place in Fremont was quiet. Rachel dozed off about halfway there, her breathing slow and steady. I kept glancing over at her at red lights, at this version of her I'd never seen before. Vulnerable. Human. Real in a way that made my attraction to her feel less like a stupid crush and more like something that could actually hurt me. My apartment was a one-bedroom on the 3rd floor of an old building with no elevator. Getting Rachel up those stairs was a process. She woke up enough to climb them, but needed my arm for balance. She smelled like whiskey and some expensive perfume I couldn't name. This is nice, she said when we got inside, but looking around at my extremely not nice apartment with its IKEA furniture and posters I'd had since college. You're drunk, I said. I'm drunk, she agreed. But it's still nice. It feels like you. I got her settled on the couch with a blanket and a pillow. put a glass of water and some Advil on the coffee table, and made sure there was a trash can nearby just in case. She was already half asleep by the time I finished. "Thank you, Jordan," she mumbled. "No problem. Sleep well." I went to my bedroom and lay down in my clothes, too wired to actually sleep. I kept listening for sounds from the living room, making sure she was okay. Around 1 in the morning, I finally drifted off. I woke up to someone standing in my bedroom doorway. It was light out, early morning sun coming through my cheap blinds. Rachel was there, still in her dress from last night, hair messy, makeup smudged under her eyes. She was staring at me with an expression I couldn't read. My heart jumped into my throat. "Hey, you okay? Do you need something?" She took a step into my room, and I sat up fast. Something in her face made my stomach drop. "Jordan," she said, and her voice was shaking. "Did anything happen between us last night?" My brain short-circuited for a second. "What? No. Nothing happened." I swung my legs out of bed, suddenly very aware that I was still fully dressed in my khakis and buttoned down from the party. "Rachel, I swear, nothing happened. You slept on the couch." She pressed her hand to her forehead, and I noticed it was trembling. "I woke up and I didn't know where I was. I can't remember anything after the party. I saw your apartment, and I panicked." "It's okay," I said, standing up but keeping my distance. "You're okay. Your phone died, and you couldn't remember your address, so I brought you here. You slept on the couch. I slept in here. That's it. I promise." She looked at me for a long moment, and I could see her trying to decide if she believed me. The fact that she had to decide, that she wasn't sure, made something in my chest ache. "I'm not lying," I said quietly. "I would never do that." "I know." She said it fast, like she needed me to know she knew. "I know you wouldn't. God, I'm so embarrassed." She covered her face with both hands. "Don't be. You had a rough night. It happens." She lowered her hands and looked at me again, really looked at me, and her eyes were shiny. "I told you about Marcus, didn't I? My ex?" "Yeah, a little bit." "What else did I tell you?" I hesitated. "Just that your mom called, that he's getting married." She nodded slowly, processing. Then she looked down at herself, at her wrinkled dress and bare feet. "Where are my shoes?" "Living room, by the couch." She turned to go, then stopped. "Jordan, this stays between us, right? What happened last night?" The way she said it, like it was a secret we had to keep, made my stomach twist. "Of course. I mean it. No one at work can know I got drunk and you had to take me home. It would look bad." "I understand. I won't say anything." She nodded, but she wouldn't meet my eyes anymore. Something had shifted in the last 30 seconds, and I felt the distance between us growing even though neither of us had moved. She found her shoes and her coat. I offered her coffee, toast, now a phone charger, but she declined everything. She called an Uber on my phone and waited by the door, arms crossed, not looking at me. When the notification came that her ride was there, she finally turned to face me. "Thank you for taking care of me," she said. It sounded formal, professional, like she was thanking me for staying late to finish a report. "Anytime," I said, even though I knew there wouldn't be a next time. She left without saying goodbye. I stood in my empty apartment and realized I'd just made everything so much more complicated. Part 3. Monday morning hit me like a truck. I got to the office early, made coffee I didn't drink, and sat at my desk refreshing my email every 30 seconds like something important was going to appear. It didn't. Rachel didn't email me, didn't stop by my desk. I didn't acknowledge my existence at all during the morning stand-up meeting where she talked about Q1 goals and client deliverables like Friday night had never happened. I told myself it was fine. We were being professional. This was exactly what should happen after your boss gets drunk and you take her home, and she wakes up terrified that something inappropriate happened between you. You move on. You pretend it never happened. Except I couldn't stop thinking about the way she'd looked standing in my doorway, vulnerable and scared. The way she'd said my name. By Wednesday, the distance between us had become obvious. Rachel, who used to stop by my desk to ask quick questions or give feedback, now only communicated through email. Formal, brief emails that felt like they'd been drafted by a lawyer. Our one-on-one got rescheduled, then rescheduled again. "Did you do something to piss off Rachel?" my coworker Amanda asked me on Thursday, leaning over the cubicle wall. "She's being weird." "No idea," I lied. "Well, she's in a mood. Tread carefully." I was trying to tread carefully. I was trying to give Rachel space and be professional and not make things worse. But Friday afternoon, everything fell apart. I was walking past the conference room when I heard raised voices. The door was partially open, and I recognized Rachel's voice immediately. She was on the phone, and she sounded upset. "Mom, I can't talk about this right now. I'm at work." A pause. "No, I'm not coming to the wedding. Why would I do that to myself?" Another pause, longer this time. "I don't care if it looks bad to the family. I'm not going." I should have kept walking. I knew I should have kept walking. But something in her voice stopped me. "I'm fine," Rachel said, but her voice cracked. "I'm completely fine. I have to go." I heard the sound of her phone hitting the table, then a choked sound that might have been a sob. I knocked softly on the doorframe. Rachel's head snapped up. Her eyes were red, mascara smudged. She looked at me like I'd caught her doing something shameful. "Jordan, I'm in the middle of something." "I know. I just wanted to check if you're okay." "I'm fine." She stood up, straightening her blazer, wiping at her eyes. "I'm perfectly fine." "Rachel, don't." She held up a hand. "Please don't be nice to me right now. I can't handle it." The words hung between us. I took a step into the conference room and closed the door behind me. "Talk to me," I said. And that's when she completely broke down. Rachel sat down hard in one of the conference room chairs and put her face in her hands. Her shoulders shook, and I stood there frozen for a second, before my body caught up with my brain. I grabbed the box of tissues from the credenza and sat down next to her. Not too close, just close enough. "I'm sorry," she said through her hands. "This is so unprofessional." "I don't care about professional right now." She took a tissue and wiped her eyes, smearing her mascara even more. "My mom won't stop calling. She keeps saying I need closure, that going to Marcus's wedding would help me move on. She doesn't get that I have moved on. I just don't want to watch him marry someone else." "That's completely reasonable. Is it?" She looked at me, and her eyes were so raw it hurt. "It's been 3 years. Jordan, I should be over this. I should be dating someone new and living my life and not falling apart at work because my ex is happy." "You are living your life," I said, "and you're allowed to have feelings about this. It doesn't mean you're not over him." She laughed, but it was hollow. "I got so drunk at the holiday party that my employee had to take me home. I'm clearly doing great. You had one bad night, and now I've made everything weird between us." She twisted the tissue in her hands. "You've been avoiding me." "You've been avoiding me," I corrected. "Because I was embarrassed. Because I woke up in a strange place and couldn't remember how I got there. And the first thing I thought was that I'd done something inappropriate with you." She closed her eyes. "And then I felt terrible for even thinking that because you're the kindest person I know, and you were just trying to help." My heart was pounding. For the record, even if you hadn't been drunk, even if the circumstances were completely different, I still wouldn't have done anything. Not when you were vulnerable like that. She opened her eyes and looked at me. "Why not?" The question caught me off guard. Because that's not who I am. No, I mean, why not under different circumstances? Her voice got quieter. Have you thought about it? Different circumstances. The air in the conference room felt thin. Rachel, you're my boss. That's not an answer. I could have lied. I could have played it safe and kept everything professional and uncomplicated. But I was tired of pretending. Yes, I said. I've thought about it. She stared at me, and I watched something shift in her expression. How long? Since my first week, maybe my second day. 8 months, she said softly. You've been thinking about this for 8 months and never said anything. You're my boss, I repeated. What if I wasn't? She turned in her chair to face me fully. What if I requested a transfer to a different team? What if we didn't have that complication? My mouth went dry. Are you serious? I've been miserable for the last week, she said. Not because of Marcus or the wedding or any of that. Because I kept replaying Saturday morning in my head. The way you looked at me when I asked if something happened. Like the idea that I would think you'd take advantage of me actually hurt you. It did hurt me. I know. And that's when I realized. She reached out and put her hand on mine, and I stopped breathing. I've been attracted to you for months, Jordan. I told myself it was inappropriate, that you were too young, that it would be crossing a line. But Saturday morning when I woke up in your apartment, my first thought wasn't panic. It was disappointment that nothing had actually happened. I turned my hand over so our palms were touching. Rachel, I'm going to talk to HR on Monday, she said, about transferring teams. It might take a few weeks, but I don't want this hanging over us. I don't want you to feel like there's a power dynamic here. And after that? She smiled, a real smile this time. After that, I'm going to ask if you want to have dinner with me. Somewhere nice. Not my couch, not a work party, an actual date. I'm going to say yes, I told her. Good. She squeezed my hand. Can you wait a few weeks? I've waited 8 months. I can wait a little longer. She leaned forward and kissed my cheek, soft and quick, and my entire body lit up. Thank you, she whispered, for taking care of me, for being patient, for being you. 6 weeks later, Rachel transferred to the digital team. 3 days after that, we had our first date at this Italian place in Belltown. She wore a green dress I'd never seen before, and I couldn't stop staring at her. What? She asked, smiling. Nothing. I just can't believe this is real. She reached across the table and took my hand. It's real. And it was. It really was.